Hello everyone and welcome to the second game of the match, Magnus Carlsen versus Daniil Dubov from the Opera Euro Rapid Knockouts, and this is quite the short one and quite an exciting one, so let's just dive straight into it. Dubov had some good chances in the previous game, so now he definitely needs to do something, otherwise it's just going to be very hard, as Magnus already won the first match. So Magnus now with the white pieces opens with e4. That's not an e-pawn. e4, e5, we have knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4 now, seeing if Dubov is maybe interested in some Evans Gambit action. But Dubov says no thank you. He goes knight to f6, goes for the two knights defense, and now d3. We have h6 by Dubov, and now knight to c3, and the bishop to b4. We have castles, and Dubov eliminates the knight. We have bishop captures, b captures, and castles. So he gives up the bishop pair early, but he definitely has his reasons for it. And here there are a lot of possible moves, and a lot of moves have been played in this position. Rook to e1 is a known move, bishop to a3 is a known move. Any move that basically develops a piece or you know, grabs more space is playable. But Magnus goes for bishop to b3. It's a new move, and it's a well, a rather weird one. So already as of move 8, we have a completely new game. You cannot go after the bishop because the e5 pawn is still hanging. So first d6, Dubov defends the e5 pawn, and now knight to d2. Magnus says that he's ready to start pushing the f pawn, open up the f file, and it's going to be a pretty wild game. We have d5 by Dubov, again, just wasting a tempo. He first played d6, then played d5, but okay. E captures on d5, knight captures, and now knight to e4 as the square has been vacated for the knight. And only now knight to a5 going after Carlsen's bishop. So bishop captures, Magnus also gives up the bishop pair, queen captures, and now comes a move that probably shook Dubov a little bit, but Magnus played it pretty much instantly, as he definitely has this prepared. Bishop captures on h6. And it seemed it's not that Dubov missed bishop captures on h6. Dubov just thought that f5, and what's the point of bishop h6? I mean, of course, the bishop cannot be captured because knight f6 check loses the queen. But I guess Dubov thought, if I just play f5, which he eventually did, what's the point of this idea? Now the bishop is hanging and also the knight is hanging. But Magnus instantly played c4, and he just said, well, there's a couple of squares for your queen, so where are you going to retreat the queen? Or are you maybe interested in capturing the pawn here? Capturing on c4 is definitely an option, but after knight captures, you get knight c3, attacking the queen and this knight, and only then after the queen moves, let's say you go after the knight, can we do some trades. Captures, captures, and then queen d5 check, and so on. The game continues, but it's a very it's a good position for both black and white, but I'm sure Magnus knows all the intricacies of the position, so he was very happy to go into this. Dubov, however, went queen back to c6 instead, and now Magnus goes back with the bishop, saying that, okay, you capture the knight, I capture this knight. Dubov says, okay, we have f captures on e4, bishop captures on a5, and now queen to g6. Now Dubov shifts the queen over to the attack. Bishop h3 could be an idea, going for some checkmating ideas, and Magnus goes queen to e2, develops the queen, goes after the e4 pawn, and so on. Bishop to h3 now wouldn't be all that impressive because queen captures on e4 offers a queen trade while also defending against checkmate. So here, after queen to e2, we have rook to f4 by Dubov, adding another defender to the pawn. And here, Magnus started to think a little bit, and f3 is what you want to play here. f3 is just a very nice move because after captures and captures, you can just trade everything, and white's position is perfectly fine. However, after this rook to f4 move, Magnus played bishop to d2. He shifted the bishop back into the game with tempo as the rook is under attack, but unfortunately for Magnus, Dubov has an even greater tempo, so he plays bishop to g4. Now attacking Carlsen's queen on e2, and there's not a good square for the queen. If you play queen to e1, bishop to f3 threatens checkmate, and there's not much to be done. If g3, queen to g4 is coming, and there's no stopping checkmate. Even if you capture the rook, doesn't matter. Queen h3, and you're getting checkmated. So after this bishop to g4, we have f3 by Magnus. This is absolutely forced. and now bishop captures on f3, chasing away the queen. You still have to keep an eye on the g2 pawn, otherwise you're still getting checkmated. So queen to f2, only move that prolongs the game, and now comes rook to g4. Absolutely strongest move by Dubov, going after the g2 pawn. So g3 again forced, and now rook to f8. And now all of Dubov's pieces are mobilized for the attack, and Magnus has very few moves that actually help him. So he goes rook 8 to e1, getting his last rook into the game, and now rook to f6 by Dubov. So what do you play here? Magnus goes d captures on e4. He sees no problem with this move, and now comes queen to h5 by Dubov. Now again, what do you play here? Well, there are a couple of moves you could play, but Magnus goes for the absolutely the most correct one, and that is rook to e3. He adds more pressure to the bishop here, and now comes bishop captures on e4, opening up an attack towards Carlsen's queen, and that's why the rook was lifted to f6, so the pawn also defends it. And now you have to play queen to e1. After queen to e1, it's going to be a terrible game for white. White's going to suffer immensely, but the game will continue for quite a bit longer. However, here Magnus played queen to e2, and now Dubov has a brilliant move that ends the game on the spot. So feel free to pause the video and win this game for Dubov while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that the queen on e2 is undefended. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the only winning move here is rook captures on g3 with check. And after Dubov played this, it was in this position that Magnus Carlsen resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You have to capture the rook, doesn't matter what you capture it with, or rather it does. If you capture with a pawn, it's queen to h1 checkmate. So that's not happening, so you have to capture with the rook, and then just queen captures on e2, and you have no counterplay whatsoever. It's just game over. There's nothing you can do here. You could capture here because the g-pawn cannot capture, but just queen captures on d2, and queen and bishop against two rooks is a very easy win. So after this rook captures on g3, Magnus resigned, and Dubov increases his chances of getting back into the match immensely, as this is only game 2. Dubov already got a win, so he only needs one more win to equalize for losing the first match. So we'll see what happens. Definitely exciting stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm sure Magnus definitely didn't. I would like to thank Enrico Salami, Nara Shiman Ragavan, Tito Reynaldo, Justin Pollard, and David Kimber for contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this very nice tournament, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.